Imagine being 15 years old in Seoul, sitting in a PC cafe surrounded by glowing monitors, the sound of keyboards clacking, and the thrill of an online battle. The clock strikes midnight, and suddenly, your game freezes. Not because you lost, but because the government decided you shouldn't be playing anymore. This wasn't a glitch, it was the law. In 2011, South Korea introduced the infamous Shutdown Law, also called the Cinderella Law. It banned anyone under 16 from playing online games between midnight and 6 in the morning. For a nation where gaming was more than just entertainment, it was a way of life, a booming industry, and even a career path, this law was seismic. Why did the government pass such a law? The answer lies in South Korea's unique gaming culture. PC cafés, known as PC bangs, were everywhere. Teenagers flocked to them after school, often staying until dawn. Parents worried their kids were addicted, skipping classes, and damaging their health. Officials pointed to tragic cases where marathon gaming sessions led to collapse or worse. The law wasn't about fun, it was about survival, but teenagers didn't take it quietly. At midnight, servers would lock them out, and frustration boiled over. Some borrowed their parents' IDs to bypass restrictions. Others switched to console games not covered by the law. In PC cafes, groups of friends would shout in disbelief as their matches were cut short. The law sparked rebellion, not obedience. Let's look at some real examples. A group of high schoolers playing League of Legends would plan their matches carefully, knowing the shutdown was coming. At 11:59 p.m., they'd rush to finish, only to be booted mid-battle. Another teenager, desperate to keep playing StarCraft, used his older brother's ID to sneak past the system. These stories became common, showing how determined teens were to keep gaming alive after midnight. The gaming industry had to adapt. Companies like Nexon and Blizzard built ID verification systems to block underage accounts. Developers added shutdown features into their games. PC cafes lost money because teenagers couldn't stay overnight. Imagine owning a cafe where half your customers vanish at midnight. Profits plummeted. The law didn't just change how games were played, it changed how they were built and sold. But here's the twist. The law didn't solve the problem. Addiction rates didn't drop as much as expected. Teenagers found loopholes, and critics argued the government was overstepping. Parents said family decisions were being replaced by state control. Responsible gamers felt punished alongside those who struggled with addiction. The debate grew louder. Was this really protecting kids, or was it hurting an industry that had made South Korea a global gaming powerhouse? Esports stars, game developers, and even educators weighed in. Some argued that gaming taught teamwork and strategy. Others insisted the risks of addiction were too high. To understand the impact, we need to zoom out. South Korea wasn't just any gaming nation. It was the birthplace of esports. StarCraft tournaments filled stadiums. Professional gamers were treated like celebrities. The shutdown law didn't just affect casual players. It disrupted the pipeline of future esports talent. Imagine being a young prodigy, practicing late into the night, only to be locked out by law. Parents were divided. Some welcomed the restrictions, believing it gave their children healthier sleep schedules. Others felt it robbed kids of their freedom and punished families who already managed gaming responsibly. The law became a symbol of the tension between tradition and modernity, between government control and personal choice. After a decade of controversy, in 2021, the shutdown law was abolished. The government shifted to parental control systems, giving families the power to set playtime limits through apps. Instead of a blanket ban, parents could decide what was best for their children. From midnight bans to parental choice, South Korea evolved. But the story doesn't end there. The debate over gaming addiction continues. Should governments decide when kids stop gaming, or should families take control? South Korea's midnight ban may be gone, but the questions it raised are still alive. Think about it. A law that literally turned off the fun at midnight. For some, it was protection. For others, it was punishment. And for teenagers, it was a reminder that in South Korea, gaming wasn't just play, it was politics. Let's compare globally. In China, Minors are restricted to just 3 hours of online gaming per week, with strict enforcement. Japan has debated similar measures, though less extreme. In the United States, the conversation is more about parental responsibility than government law. Each country reflects its own cultural values, but the core issue is the same. How do we balance freedom with protection? Back in Seoul, the midnight shutdown is now history. Teenagers can play past midnight, but parents have tools to monitor and limit time. PC cafés are thriving again. Esports continues to grow, and South Korea remains a gaming capital of the world. Yet the memory of the shutdown law lingers, a reminder of how far governments will go to protect their youth, and how far teenagers will go to keep playing. The law also sparked broader conversations about digital well-being. Schools began teaching about healthy gaming habits. Psychologists studied the effects of screen time on sleep and mental health. The shutdown law may have failed in its original mission, but it opened doors to new discussions about balance in the digital age. So the next time you log in at midnight, remember the kids in Seoul who couldn't. Their story is a warning, a lesson, and a glimpse into the future of gaming regulation worldwide. This was the story of South Korea's shutdown law, how it forced teenagers to stop playing at midnight, how it changed the gaming industry, and how it sparked a global debate about addiction, freedom, and control. Beyond the midnight shutdown, the law also shaped how young people thought about freedom and responsibility. For many teenagers, being locked out of their favorite games wasn't just frustrating, it was a lesson in how powerful governments can be in controlling everyday life. That experience left a lasting impression, sparking conversations about digital rights and the balance between public health and personal choice. And in the years since, South Korea's gaming culture has only grown stronger. Esports arenas fill with cheering fans, streaming platforms showcase marathon sessions, and PC cafes remain cultural landmarks. The shutdown law may have ended, but its shadow still lingers. A reminder of how one midnight rule changed the way a generation viewed gaming, authority, and themselves. It also highlighted the resilience of youth culture. Teenagers found ways around the restrictions, proving that laws alone can't erase passion. In fact, the shutdown became part of their shared memory, a story they tell about growing up in one of the most connected nations on Earth. And perhaps most importantly, the law forced a conversation about balance. How much screen time is too much? How do we protect health without stifling creativity? These questions remain urgent today as gaming, streaming, and social media continue to dominate our lives. Subscribe for more hidden laws and gaming stories from around the world.